Elena's voice resonated through the Grand Conclave chamber as she concluded her address. Humanity seeks not dominance, but partnership. We bring innovation, adaptability, and a unique perspective forged in isolation. All we ask is fair consideration. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their environmental pods. The Mithrani representatives' tendrils flashed approval patterns, one of the few genuinely supportive species present. The Dorlath delegation remained eerily still, their scaled exoskeletons reflecting the chamber's azure lighting. Marcus scanned the security personnel again, noting their altered formation. Standard protocol placed guards at cardinal points, but they'd subtly shifted toward strategic choke points. He activated his subdermal comm to alert Chen's security detail when his connection failed. Signal jammers. He caught the eye of Security Chief Yamamoto, gesturing toward his dead comm. She nodded, already aware. "The delegation will now entertain questions," announced the conclave moderator, a towering Phalorian whose translucent skin revealed shifting thought patterns beneath. Supreme Commander Vartek of the Dorlath rose, his ceremonial armor clattering softly. 7 feet of evolved predator, his species had conquered 3 sectors before developing spaceflight. Humanity speaks of partnership while aggressively colonizing disputed regions. Your mining operations on Vesper 9 encroach on historical Dorlath territories. Elena smiled diplomatically. Vesper 9 was uninhabited when surveyed. We found no evidence of prior. Because you deliberately ignored archaeological findings, Vartek interrupted. Typical human arrogance. The chamber temperature dropped as environmental controls compensated for rising tensions. Marcus looked toward the maintenance corridor, intending to manually reset communications. Ambassador Chen caught his movement, giving an imperceptible headshake. "Stay close." "Perhaps," Elena replied carefully. "A joint archaeological commission could resolve these claims. Humanity is prepared to establish cooperative." "We've heard enough human platitudes," Vartek snarled. "Your species expanded from 1 world to 17 colonies in 3 decades while ancient civilizations follow established protocols. You claim peaceful intentions while your military capabilities grow exponentially." The conclave moderator's skin flushed warning patterns. "The Dorlath delegation will observe decorum." Elena maintained composure. "If the Dorlath have specific concerns about human expansion, we welcome formal discussions rather than accusations." Vartek's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of amusement among his kind. "An admirable attempt at diplomacy, Ambassador. But the conclave should understand what truly drives human ambition." He activated a holoprojector. Images materialized. Earth military exercises, weapons testing, colony defense systems. "Selective evidence," Elena objected. "Any developing species maintains defensive capabilities." "Defensive." Vartek zoomed in on a classified Earth shipyard. "Your new dreadnought designs incorporate technology suspiciously similar to Mithrani specifications, industrial espionage or worse." The Mithrani delegate's tendrils coiled defensively, a critical ally potentially lost. Marcus noticed the security shift accelerate. Guards now positioned at every exit except the maintenance corridor. He edged closer to it while reaching for his ceremonial sidearm. Technically non-lethal, but better than nothing. Elena stepped forward. "These accusations are baseless. Earth has developed." "Enough." Vartek slammed his armored fist on the podium. "Humanity was a mistake. Your species consumes resources, subverts established order, and contaminates galactic culture with your primitive emotions." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Several delegates withdrew to consultation pods. Elena maintained remarkable composure. "If the Dorlath motion to restrict human expansion, we request formal deliberation under Article 7 of the..." Vartek's expression changed to something Marcus recognized from combat, the look of a predator dropping all pretense before the kill. "There will be no Article 7, Vartek said softly as he touched his ceremonial collar. "The time for deliberation has passed." Marcus lunged toward Elena, as the first energy field hummed to life around the chamber exits. Blood slicked the polished ceremonial floor as Marcus crawled through the maintenance shaft, the sounds of execution still echoing in his ears. His side wound left a crimson trail behind him, a liability he couldn't afford with Dorlath hunt trackers surely already deployed. The neural feed continued transmitting to his implant, a safety feature never meant for this horror. Through it, he witnessed Communications Officer Patil attempting to shield 2 junior staffers. The Dorlath executioner casually severed her spine, leaving her conscious but immobile to witness the deaths of her protégés. Marcus bit down on his sleeve to stifle a scream of rage. These weren't quick kills. They were calculated demonstrations. The Dorlath wanted the humans to understand their helplessness before death. Subsection 12 compromised, came a guttural voice from ahead. Hunt trackers. Marcus pressed against a junction box, activating his tactical implant's stealth protocols. Technology officially restricted to military personnel, but standard for diplomatic security in all but name. His heart thundered in his chest as footsteps approached. The implant injected combat stimulants, slowing his perception of time while dulling the pain from his wound. The tracker paused just beyond the junction, its breathing apparatus emitting soft clicks. It sniffed once, twice, then moved past. Marcus accessed the station schematics through his implant, identifying a route to the diplomatic hangar. The path would take him through environmental control, likely guarded, but unavoidable. Through the neural feed, he saw Ambassador Chen's final moments. Surrounded by Dorlath executioners, she stood defiant. "You've miscalculated," she told them, blood streaming from a facial wound. "Humanity survived extinction events, ice ages, and our own self-destructive tendencies. We endure." The Dorlath commander tilted his head. "Your species lacks perspective. The galaxy operates on timescales you cannot comprehend. The Dorlath Imperium has extinguished 17 emerging intelligences that threatened stability, and created enemies of the survivors," Chen replied. "Remember that." The phase blade entered through her sternum, angled precisely to prolong consciousness while ensuring death. Marcus shut his eyes but couldn't block the audio. Chen's final gasping breaths, the wet sound of the blade's withdrawal. "Process the bodies for disposal," ordered the commander. "The official record will show they initiated conflict." Marcus reached environmental control, where a lone Dorlath technician monitored systems. No guard, they hadn't anticipated survivors. He disabled his stealth protocols to conserve power and drew a maintenance tool, a plasma cutter used for duct repairs. Not a weapon, but deadly in trained hands. The technician died silently, and Marcus claimed the creature's communication device. Through it came the Dorlath commander's orders: deploy narrative control immediately. The humans attempted assassination using illegal bioweapons. Their delegation was neutralized in self-defense. They'd planned every detail, even the cover story. Marcus accessed the environmental systems, triggering localized atmospheric adjustments that would register as normal maintenance, but create sensor distortions near the hangar. As he worked, his neural feed showed the aftermath in the chamber. Dorlath workers dragging human corpses toward disposal tubes that would eject them into space. Ambassador Chen's body was handled differently. The commander ordered, "This one carries diplomatic implants. Extract them before disposal." Marcus downloaded the station's security logs, communications records, and his own neural feed data into an encrypted package. Evidence that would never see the conclave floor but might yet serve justice. The hangar lay ahead, separated by 2 security checkpoints. Stimulants wore thin in his bloodstream as blood loss took its toll. His tactical implant calculated survival probability at 17%. Acceptable odds. He'd survived worse during the Europa conflict. Marcus adjusted the plasma cutter to maximum output. If he died here, he'd ensure the Dorlath paid a price in blood. And if he lived, they would pay 1,000 times over. The UN Security Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Vargas activated the holographic display. It showed the Dorlath occupation of New Eden, humanity's most prosperous colony. "What you're seeing occurred 6 hours ago," she said, her voice tight with controlled fury. 2 million human colonists now under martial law. The footage showed Dorlath enforcers herding humans through processing checkpoints, children separated from parents, medical implant scanners confiscating human technology deemed potentially disruptive. Similar scenes from Proxima Centauri and Ta Station. Vargas continued, switching feeds. Their official statement claims these measures are temporary until human aggression is contained. UN Secretary General Okafor rubbed his temples. The Galactic Conclave has accepted their evidence without investigation. 7 trade partners have suspended relations with Earth. The Mithrani ambassador won't respond to communication attempts. "The Mithrani are cowards," spat General Santos of the South American Confederation. "They know the truth but fear Dorlath reprisal." "Can you blame them?" asked the Chinese representative. "We've just witnessed what happens to those who challenge Dorlath authority." Marcus Reed, still healing from wounds sustained during his escape, studied the room's dynamics. These were Earth's most powerful leaders, yet they appeared shell-shocked. Some argued for immediate military response, while others advocated diplomatic channels, as if those hadn't just been slaughtered on Alpha Prime. The Dorlath are broadcasting doctored footage across all galactic communication channels, said Communications Director Kwan. They've inserted images of human commandos carrying bioweapons into the council chamber. The fabrication is obvious to us, but alien perceptual systems process visual information differently. Many species genuinely believe their narrative. "And the ones that don't?" asked Marcus, speaking for the first time since presenting his evidence. "Are calculating their self-interest," replied Vargas. "The Dorlath control key trade routes and possess technological advantages. Standing with humanity offers no strategic benefit." Secretary General Okafor sighed. "We've received formal notification. Earth-based businesses are banned from operating in 83 systems. All human ships must submit to Dorlath inspection before entering Conclave space." "Containment," said Marcus. "They're isolating us economically before military strikes." "Agreed," nodded Vargas. "Intelligence suggests this is standard Dorlath procedure for species elimination. They've done this before." Outside the chamber's reinforced walls, protests engulfed Earth's major cities. Feeds showed crowds outside conclave embassies, burning effigies of alien diplomats. Colonial families demanded action to rescue relatives. Military enlistment centers reported lines stretching for blocks. "We have 3 options," said Secretary General Okafor. Appeasement. Accept their narrative and restrictions while working through diplomatic back channels. Conventional response. Deploy our fleet to liberated occupied colonies, likely triggering full-scale war we cannot win. Or, he hesitated. Option 3, Vargas said flatly. Operation Long Memory. The room temperature seemed to drop. Few present knew the details of this black-budget contingency, developed after first contact, revealed humanity's technological disadvantage. Long memory is not merely a military response, Vargas explained, engaging additional security protocols that blocked all recording devices. It's a comprehensive strategy assuming conventional warfare against superior forces is unwinnable. The holographic display shifted to show a complex web of initiatives. Deep cover agents, technological back-engineering programs, psychological warfare divisions, and infrastructure preparations dispersed across Earth and loyal colonies. While publicly bowing to conclave authority, Vargas continued, "We've been preparing for this scenario for 15 years. The Dorlath believe they're following their standard extinction protocol. They have no concept they're actually following our script." Marcus studied the operation details with growing comprehension. "We've been expecting betrayal since first contact." "Not expecting," corrected Vargas. "Preparing for. Difference is we won't just be ready. We'll be several steps ahead." Secretary General Okafor surveyed the grim faces surrounding him. "Long memory requires unanimous Security Council approval. Before voting, Vargas said quietly, "Understand what this means. Once initiated, there's no return to normal galactic relations. We either emerge victorious or cease to exist as a species." Beneath the Appalachian mountain range, Facility Omega hummed with activity. Once a Cold War relic, the sprawling underground complex had been repurposed for humanity's new Cold War, one fought against an enemy that considered humans barely more evolved than laboratory specimens. Dr. Eliza Yamamoto adjusted the neural calibration on Marcus Reed's containment pod. The procedure they were attempting had never been performed on a conscious subject. His neural architecture is accepting the diplomatic persona overlays, she reported to Admiral Vargas, who observed from behind shatterproof glass. Primary identity remains stable, but we're seeing integration challenges with Ambassador Chen's data package. Chen was the most complex personality, Vargas noted. Strongest emotional imprints, too. The pods surrounding Marcus contained the recovered neural implants from 17 of the 44 slain diplomats. Standard procedure required all diplomatic personnel to maintain updated neural backups, insurance against accidents in exotic environments. No one had anticipated they'd become weapons of war. He's integrating decades of diplomatic experience, language patterns, relationship networks, and personality matrices, explained Yamamoto. When complete, he'll possess the composite knowledge of our entire diplomatic corps. And the trauma of their deaths, added Vargas. He witnessed everything. Yamamoto's expression tightened. That's the anchor point, the emotional core binding everything together. Vengeance is the stabilizing force preventing personality fragmentation. On the other side of the facility, engineers worked on the physical aspect of humanity's response. The Stiletto-class vessels under construction represented a technological leap concealed from galactic oversight. Based on reverse-engineered Dorlath technology, they incorporated phase-shifting capabilities that rendered them nearly undetectable. Colonel Takeda led Vargas through the manufacturing section. 37 vessels ready for deployment, another 43 in final assembly. They'll bypass conventional defense grids by phase shifting at the quantum level. And the Whisper system? Asked Vargas. Operational. Each ship can deploy up to 12 autonomous hunter-killers. No Dorlath detection system has the capability to track them. Vargas nodded approval. And our biological countermeasures. Dr. Patel's team has weaponized the Dorlath's own biotech against them, Takeda explained, leading her to a sealed laboratory. Their evolutionary adaptations make them highly resistant to conventional pathogens, but vulnerable to engineered retroviruses that target their unique cellular structures. Through the window, Vargas watched scientists working with isolated Dorlath tissue samples, obtained years earlier through clandestine operations the Security Council had never authorized. Deployment timeline, she asked. 6 weeks for full operational capacity. Accelerate to 4. Recent intelligence suggests the Dorlath are preparing for Phase 2 of their elimination protocol. In the main command center, the strategic visualization displayed human assets across the galaxy. Green dots represented active agents, individuals placed in key positions throughout galactic society years before. Some worked in space traffic control, others in defense infrastructure or communication networks. Most had no idea they were sleeper agents, carrying embedded trigger protocols that would activate when signaled. Operation Long Memory was never just about developing countermeasures, Vargas explained to the newly appointed Security Council liaisons. It was about understanding that in asymmetric warfare, battlefield victories are determined long before the first shot. Lieutenant Commander Jackson indicated a simulation showing coordinated strike patterns. When activated, our embedded assets will simultaneously compromise critical systems across 47 targets. And the galactic community's response? Asked a liaison. Vargas' expression hardened. By the time they realize what's happening, they'll face a choice. Stand with humanity or suffer the Dorlath's fate. In his neural integration chamber, Marcus Reed convulsed as Ambassador Chen's memories fully merged with his consciousness. In his mind's eye, he relived her final moments, felt the phase blade pierce her chest, experienced her dying thoughts. Her last emotion hadn't been fear or anger. It was pity, for what humanity would become in its quest for vengeance. Above the Dorlath colony world Sharvex, reality itself seemed to shudder. Space rippled as human Stiletto-class vessels phase-shifted into normal space, their hulls bearing the stylized death masks of the slain diplomats. No alarms sounded. The defense grid registered nothing until the ships had already penetrated deep into the atmosphere. Aboard the lead vessel, _Chen's Judgment _, Commander Isabel Rice watched the tactical display with cold detachment. Her family had been among the colonists processed on New Eden. Whisper units deployed, her tactical officer reported, targeting Central Governance Complex and defense installations. The autonomous hunter-killers, each no larger than a domestic cat, streaked toward their targets, phase-shifting through security barriers designed to stop conventional weapons. They carried payloads engineered specifically for Dorlath physiology. "Commence broadcast on all frequencies," ordered Rice, including their ceremonial channels. Throughout the Dorlath colony, screens flickered to life with identical imagery. The massacre at Alphera Prime, shown from Marcus Reed's recovered neural feed. The footage played unedited, forcing the Dorlath to witness their own brutality. But this time, the targets weren't diplomats. In the colony's central plaza, a gathering of Dorlath governmental officials convulsed as bioactive agents triggered cascading cellular failure. The specifically engineered pathogen targeted genetic markers unique to the Dorlath ruling caste, the architects of the diplomatic massacre. First wave effectiveness at 97%, reported the science officer. Collateral impact on non-combatants near zero. This wasn't indiscriminate slaughter. It was surgical excision. Across 50 systems, the pattern repeated with precision timing. Human vessels appeared without warning, deployed their whisper units, and broadcast the massacre footage on loop. The deaths were quick but witnessed, recorded for transmission back to the Dorlath homeworld. On the Galactic Conclave emergency broadcast, Admiral Vargas addressed the stunned representatives from her command center on Earth. "You believed us contained, our technology primitive, our capabilities understood," she said, her silver hair framing a face devoid of mercy. "That was your first miscalculation." Behind her, screens displayed real-time footage from each targeted system. "Your second error was assuming diplomacy was our only tool. Ambassador Chen offered you partnership. You chose extermination." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "We are simply honoring your preference for how our species should interact." The conclave erupted in chaos as delegates demanded protection, assurances, intervention. The Mithrani representative, tendrils flashing distress patterns, attempted to establish a private channel to Earth. It was blocked. To those who stood silent during the Alphera Prime massacre, Vargas continued, "You have made your allegiances clear." 3 species actively supported the Dorlath narrative. Their homeworlds are currently experiencing communications blackouts as human vessels secure their orbital space. The Phalorian moderator, his translucent skin pulsing with stress patterns, attempted to regain control. The conclave demands immediate cessation of hostilities. This violates every principle off. Principles. Vargas cut him off. Like the principles that allowed the murder of 44 unarmed diplomats. Like the principles that justified the occupation of human colonies. In the conclave chamber, the vacant Dorlath seat remained conspicuously empty. Their representative had been found dead in his quarters, executed with a ceremonial blade identical to the one used on Ambassador Chen. "This isn't war," Vargas concluded. "This is consequence. Humanity offered civilization its best. You responded with barbarity. Now we offer the same in return, but refined and perfected through human innovation." As she spoke, data packets flooded galactic networks, evidence of the Dorlath's systematic elimination of 17 previous species, records they had believed purged from history. The final images were of Elena Chen's body being ejected into space after the massacre. "We will not be the 18th, Vargas said simply, before terminating the transmission. Deep within the Dorlath Imperial Command, Supreme Strategist Kelvor slammed his armored fist into the holographic display, shattering the projection of another failed counteroffensive. 3 days into what should have been a simple extermination campaign against an upstart species, the Imperium faced unprecedented disaster. How do they anticipate every movement? He demanded of his tactical staff. Our encryption protocols were altered between transmission and reception. Our fleet formations were compromised before deployment. No one answered. 2 advisors had already been executed for failure. Deploy the 7th Extinction Fleet, Kelvor ordered. Full combat protocols, direct assault on the human homeworld. The communications officer hesitated. Supreme Strategist, we've lost contact with the 7th Fleet. Impossible. They were at high anchor in the Draylock system, awaiting deployment orders. 2 hours ago, all 67 vessels simultaneously reported drive core instabilities. Then, nothing. Kelvor felt cold dread, an emotion foreign to the Dorlath evolutionary psychology. Show me the final transmissions. The display flickered to life, showing Dorlath bridge crews frantically reporting system failures. In the background of each transmission, barely noticeable, human writing scrolling across Dorlath control interfaces. The same message repeated. Remember ALPHARA Prime. Our systems were compromised years ago, realized Kelvor. They've been waiting. Across Dorlath space, carefully planted algorithmic time bombs activated simultaneously. Weapon systems targeted their own vessels. Life support systems recalibrated to toxic levels. Navigation computers executed precision jumps into stellar coronas. An intelligence officer rushed in with new reports. Supreme Strategist, we've identified the infiltration vector. The trade delegation from the Earthen colonies 3 years ago. They carried tailored nanites designed to integrate with our biotechnology. Impossible. All visitors undergo decontamination. The nanites were designed to register as symbiotic organisms native to Dorlath physiology. They remain dormant until activated remotely. In the Galactic Conclave emergency session, Marcus Reed appeared before the assembled representatives, his eyes glowing with the neural enhancements that contained the collective consciousness of the slain diplomats. His movements were unsettling, occasionally shifting into the mannerisms of different personalities within him. The Dorlath believed themselves evolutionarily superior, he stated, his voice modulating between his own and Alina Chen's. They studied human warfare, but understood nothing of human nature. The Phalorian moderator, desperate to contain the escalating crisis, proposed immediate ceasefire negotiations. There will be no negotiations, Reed replied, his voice briefly taking on the cultured tones of Ambassador Okafor, another massacre victim. Ambassador Chen offered peaceful coexistence. That option died with her. The Mithrani representatives' tendrils flashed urgent communication patterns. The humans are broadcasting tactical telemetry showing Dorlath fleet movements. They've penetrated command-level encryption. We didn't penetrate it, Reed corrected. We designed it. Confused murmurs rippled through the conclave. For 30 years, the Dorlath allowed human tech corporations to design simplified components for their advanced systems. Components with imperceptible vulnerabilities activated by specific frequency combinations. While they studied us as primitives to be controlled, we rewrote their technological foundation. On a massive display behind Reed, real-time footage showed Dorlath warships firing upon their own defense platforms throughout their territory. You call this algorithm warfare, Reed continued. We call it preparation. The Dorlath studied human history and saw our conflicts, our divisions. They failed to recognize our capacity to learn from those mistakes. As he spoke, the diplomatic personalities within him shifted in prominence, each contributing expertise, analysis, and righteous anger to his composite consciousness. When threatened with extinction, he concluded, Chen's voice momentarily dominant, humanity doesn't negotiate. We ensure our survival by any means necessary. The orbital platform above former Dorlath colony Sharvex had been repurposed as Diplomatic Outpost Alpha, the first of 12 such installations establishing human administrative control over conquered territory. Its architecture blended functional human design with deliberate elements from the Alphera Prime Chamber, where the massacre occurred, a constant reminder to alien representatives of the price of betrayal. Admiral Vargas stood at the observation window, watching the proceedings below. Representatives from 27 species waited anxiously as human officials processed their credentials, determining their status under the new order. The Galaxy delegation is refusing mandatory neural scanning, reported Security Chief Rodriguez. They claim it violates their religious prohibitions on technology interfacing with their central ganglia. Neural scanning is non-negotiable, Vargas replied. If they wish to maintain trade access to former Dorlath territories, they will comply or depart. And if they choose to leave, their system borders 3 strategic hyperspace junctions. Place them under Category 3 surveillance, and restrict their vessels to designated corridors. 6 months into the Pax Humana, humanity's once hidden capabilities had transformed into visible power. Orbital platforms above key worlds featured phase-shifted defense arrays. Human administrators, many augmented with diplomatic neural overlays harvested from the backs of volunteers, enforced new galactic regulations with cold efficiency. On Earth, the transformed Security Council struggled with their new role as architects of an interstellar imperium. The emergency session had been ongoing for hours. We didn't fight for vengeance only to become what we destroyed, argued Councillor Mbeki, pounding the table for emphasis. The occupation of 17 non-human worlds violates every principle we claim to uphold. Those principles died at Alphera Prime, countered General Santos. The galaxy understands only strength. The moment we show weakness, they'll turn on us again. Marcus Reed, his neural augmentation now stabilized into a functioning composite consciousness, observed the debate with unique perspective. The diplomatic personas within him offered contradictory viewpoints, some advocating reconciliation, others demanding continued vigilance. The children are the problem, he said suddenly, silencing the room. What children? Asked Councillor Mbeki. In conquered territories, we've implemented mandatory education programs teaching human language, history, and culture, Reed explained, Ambassador Chen's diplomatic cadence momentarily dominant in his speech. What these programs actually teach is fear. We're cultivating a generation that will never trust humanity, never see us as anything but conquerors. Across human-controlled space, the monuments had already been erected, massive installations displaying the names and faces of the 44 slain diplomats. School children, both human and alien, began each day reciting their names. Human military vessels patrolled former Dorlath trade routes, their hulls emblazoned with the faces of the dead. On colony worlds, human administrators implemented reconstruction programs that required mandatory participation. Alien civilizations that had once looked down on humanity now worked under human supervision, rebuilding infrastructure damaged during the swift but devastating war. In the medical wing of Outpost Alpha, Dr. Yamamoto reviewed the latest data on Admiral Vargas' condition. The nanite enhancements that had given her tactical brilliance were breaking down her neural pathways. Life expectancy, 18 months maximum. Have you told her? Asked her assistant. She's known since the beginning, Yamamoto replied. The prototype nanites were always a terminal treatment. She accepted the cost. In her private quarters, Vargas reviewed the latest intelligence reports from the former Dorlath homeworld. The remaining population, primarily non-combatants and lower castes, lived under strict human oversight. Rehabilitation programs attempted to integrate them into the new order with limited success. A notification flashed on her neural interface, another rebellion suppressed on an outer colony. The pattern was becoming familiar. Resistance, swift response, public examples made. The cycle of dominance and insurgency that had characterized human history now played out on a galactic scale. "We've won every battle," she murmured to herself, feeling the nanites burning through another cluster of mirrons. "But I'm no longer certain what victory means." The Memorial Plaza on Alpera Prime had been rebuilt at enormous expense, where once the Galactic Conclave Chamber stood. Now a monument of terrestrial marble and titanium reached toward the stars. 44 pillars, one for each fallen diplomat. At the center, a perpetual flame burned in an atmosphere bubble, visible from orbit as a defiant spark. As Admiral Vargas moved slowly through the gathered dignitaries, her dress uniform hung loosely on her diminished frame. The nanite degradation had accelerated in recent weeks, leaving her with tremors she could no longer conceal. Her adjutant discreetly supported her elbow when necessary. "The Tellurian ambassador requests a private audience," murmured her aide. "Denied," Vargas replied. The Tellurians provided targeting data during the initial Dorlath attacks on our colonies. They can petition through standard channels. The memorial ceremony would begin at the exact moment, 5 years earlier, when the massacre commenced. Representatives from 36 species were present, some by choice, others by mandate. Security drones maintained vigilant watch, their sensors programmed to detect subtle biological markers of deception or hostility. Across the plaza, Marcus Reed stood apart from the crowd. The neural integration had stabilized over time, but at significant cost. The diplomatic personas had gradually merged into a composite consciousness that was neither fully Reed nor entirely the diplomats whose memories he carried. His eyes retained the uncanny glow of neural enhancement, causing many to avoid direct contact. "Admiral," Marcus approached, his gait betraying no recognition of her deteriorating condition. "Alina's journal. Have you read it completely?" Vargas nodded. 3 times. Her final entries were difficult. "She foresaw this," Marcus said, gesturing toward the gathered representatives with their forced solemnity and carefully monitored interactions. Not the specifics, but the pattern. Vengeance begetting fear, fear hardening into resentment, resentment eventually fueling new violence. Before Vargas could respond, an alert flashed across her neural interface. 7 alien vessels had entered the system, approaching in formation, but with weapons systems inactive. They broadcast on an open frequency, an unprecedented gesture in post-war diplomatic protocol. "Identity confirmed," reported her security chief. "The coalition of independent worlds, non-aligned systems that remained neutral during the conflict. Their approach vector bypassed 3 screening checkpoints," Vargas noted. "Tactical assessment. If hostile, they would have maintained stealth. This appears deliberately transparent." On the memorial platform, Earth's Secretary General prepared to deliver the commemorative address. The standard text scrolled through Vargas's neural feed. Another recitation of humanity's resolve, another warning against challenging Earth's primacy. Something in Alina Chen's journal surfaced in Vargas's thoughts. "True strength lies not in making others fear you, but in finding the courage to extend trust when every instinct screams for caution." "Admiral," her aide prompted, concerned by her extended silence. Vargas made a decision. "Inform the Secretary General there will be a change to the program, Mom, and clear the coalition delegation for landing. No security escorts, no neural scanning." Marcus studied her with sudden intensity, the diplomatic personas within him recognizing the significance. "You're changing the script." "I'm dying, Marcus," Vargas said simply. "But humanity doesn't have to follow me into the grave of our making." As the memorial ceremony commenced, the familiar litany of the fallen began. But this time, augmented by something new. After each diplomat's name, a brief description of their life's work, their hopes for human-alien cooperation, their vision for a galactic community based on mutual respect rather than dominance. The Secretary General, initially resistant to the change, found his voice strengthening as he spoke of Ambassador Chen's work establishing medical exchange programs with the Mithrani, of Ambassador Okafor's efforts to preserve endangered alien cultural traditions, of Ambassador Patil's advocacy for equitable resource distribution. For the first time in 5 years, the memorial honored not just how they died, but how they lived.